Tired of serving up the same old tasteless victuals to your family? Step up your grill game with new seasonings from Cloy's Southern Eats. Based off famous Southern recipes, our seasonings will add what's been missing to your family's feast. Add it to steak, chicken, shrimp, you name it. Serving up these fixings is going to make you the hero at home. So head on over to CloysSouthernEats.com and order yours today. Come get you some.
And everybody, welcome to the Razorback Football Report with Otis Kirk. I'm your host, Jason Pattison, and want to thank our sponsor, Otis Southern Eats, for all of their great participation with us at Hogville here. Make sure to go check out their locations in Central and Northwest Arkansas. You can find all of their great products on Amazon.com, Walmart.com, and of course at KoiSouthernEats.com. Go try all of their great seasonings and go re-experience the magic of Koi's. Come get you some. Let's bring Otis on. Otis, it's been a wild, I'd say probably last 30 minutes, hasn't it?
Yeah. Just as I sit down to eat at the restaurant, my phone starts blowing up. They fired Enos, which they should have.
They should have.
Yeah. I'm writing a column right now about Sam made a mistake when he hired Enos. He avoided the second mistake by not letting him coach another game. So, yeah, I've been pretty blunt about it. I don't like doing that, being blunt, but on this show and other places. But man, Enos was a bad hire. I said it when they made it. I never did like the hire. He walked into a great situation in 2015, but that was it. And if he had Alex Collins, fifth-year BA, and Hunter Henry and Jeremy Sprinkle on that offensive line that he had then, Drew Morgan, Keon Hatcher. But, yeah, he should have fired him. Should have never hired him. But I just didn't feel like after that showing yesterday that, Jason, they could ever let him coach another game. I just felt like that would have been a slap. You come back after Florida, you got 3 home games, and I felt like it would be a slap in the fans' face to even say show up. If you're got that guy sitting on the sidelines and call plays, I just don't think you could do that. I keep getting messages about KJ and Cody Kennedy and stuff, but I've said the same thing over and over. I've said, it's amazing to me that everybody thinks KJ stinks and thinks Cody Kennedy stinks, but these guys have been good till this year. What's the, mean, he even made Rocky Sanders look bad. Look, when you're calling the plays that he called yesterday, you're not giving anybody on offense a chance to succeed.
No.
I trust Sam with Cody Kennedy. Whatever he wants to do at the end of the season, that's up to Sam with Cody. Yeah. I mean, I trust him with the offensive line decision, but I'm telling you, man, KJ has been a good quarterback. He come into the season nearing every passing record in the U of A. And
I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback regress as much as KJ has this season from last season. And the only difference in the staff was the offensive coordinator. And that's why Sam had to make that decision today.
Yeah. It was a decision. Yeah, there was no way and it got worse yesterday, man. That was terrible. I mean, that game yesterday was the worst. Mike Irwin said it on Twitter, and I agree with Mike. Worst play calling I've ever seen. It's like he was clueless.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely.
I mean, and I'm not sure what hurt the most, me sitting at home with my knee and back or watching Enos's offense. I mean, it was close, man.
It was, and I know that there are some folks, I know that like Silver Sergeant, he made a comment and said Sam should never have hired Enos. Now everything Sam does is questionable. Now I want to kind of clap back at that for just a second and respond to it because, and like John Everett pointed out, Sam made all of those hires on the defensive side, so it's not like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Well, let's look at this football as three things. There's three aspects of football: offense, defense, and special teams.
Yep.
Defense has been very good. You take
it's
away
been the best it probably has in the last 20 years. Honestly,
they've been very good. You take away a few hiccups in the BYU game. Special teams have been outstanding. Fletcher had 2 bad punts in that game, and Cam missed a field goal. The only one he's missed. But you've got special teams and defense are playing outstanding. So how can you say Pittman can't be trusted to make a hire? He made one bad hire.
Yeah.
I mean,
unfortunately, it was the most
coach that hired Morgan Turner, same coach that hired Travis Williams, same coach that hired
Darren Woodson.
Yeah, Woodson and Darren Wilson.
Marcus Woodson.
Marcus Woodson. Yeah. And, he brought Scott Fountain over from Georgia. So, I mean, I'm not going to let one bad hire. I do think, though, as I said, and I'm writing a column on this, I'll finish it after we get finished here, but I felt like he made a mistake hiring him, which I've not been bashful about saying that.
Yeah.
And, special teams have been good, and so has defense. You take away that second half of that, they've had a few down. I mean, they haven't been perfect on defense, but compared to where they were last year to this year, they've been pretty dang good on defense, guys. I mean, you allow 7 points, you should win a game. They had problems, but you look at the defense, they've been pretty good, especially when you factor in the offense has been this bad. It puts the defense on the field a lot, Jason.
Yeah. And there's still
exposes the offense, defense, for big minutes. So, I mean, the defense and special teams have been good enough to win. They could be, what are they 2-6? I mean, that record could be reversed if the offense had been what it was supposed to be. I mean, it wouldn't be out of the question to be 6-2. I mean, the offense has drug this team down. Dan Enos has drug his team down.
And what's the most phenomenal part about this is that, say, for instance, when Kenny Guyton has now taken over play calling for Dan Enos has been let go. Hold on, I got to let my producer out here for just a second, Max the Beagle, because he's getting a little restless here. He's, even he couldn't even stand it and be in the room for a moment. But let's talk about this for just a second. Arkansas's got 4 more games left in the season, and I'm not saying that they can, but there is a chance that this team could still make a bowl after all this mess that they've been through over the last 6 weeks. And you got to put a little bit of faith in Kenny Guyton. He's played quarterback at the highest level at one of the top schools in the nation at Ohio State. And I know that a lot of people kind of been busting on the wide receivers this season because they haven't really performed up to what we thought they might after the first 2 games. But here's another thing. It's been the scheme that has put them in bad places because a lot of these schemes have been clusters, which these guys can't get space in clusters. I saw yesterday a safety being able to cover 2 players at one side of the ball. Well, you can't do that.
No, you point out KJ, they point out Rocket, they point out Guyton, they point out the receivers, they point out the offensive line coach, but the offensive coordinator is not giving this team a chance, guys. I'm just telling you, the offensive coordinator has not given this team a chance to have any success. He hasn't. and it was a terrible hire. What a bad one! It was terrible. But Sam, I think the BYU and Mississippi State games will bite them in the butt, and they won't go to a bowl. But if they can end something positive here, the last 4 games, just get something. It's not going to be they're going to go out and score 80 points against Florida just because it's got rid of Enos. But I think if you could see some positive signs the last 4 games, that would help. Like I said, anybody will tell you there's 3 parts of football: offense, defense, special teams, and 2 of those have been winning football, man.
So let's look at some statistical numbers on how bad this offense has been under Enos this year. Right now, they're dead ass last in yards per game at 305 yards per game.
You talking about in the SEC or nation?
In the SEC, just in the SEC alone.
Okay.
And passing, I know that they are 10th with 157 yards per. That's passing total passing yards in the season. They are 12th right now, averaging 196 yards passing for the season. Rushing, which, by the way, I don't know the last time, and I got to look this stat up. Arkansas still has not scored a rushing touchdown this season. And that right there tells me that it's probably the most – pardon?
They haven't?
I don't believe they –
I'm not saying they have. I my goodness, I didn't realize.
I don't believe that they have.
Well, they have because AJ Green got that 55-yarder.
Oh, no, yeah, he did.
BYU.
Yeah. Okay, then that stat was incorrect then. So as far as rushing yards per game, Arkansas right now is 12th in the SEC in total rushing yards, and then also they are 12th as well with averaging 109 yards per game. That they're dead last in points per game. With I'm sorry, no, they're not. They are last in the SEC in points per game. So in SEC play, those right there alone show you that this had to change. There was no way. I don't know how I just don't know how Dan Enos could have coached after the not the LSU game, but it's escaping me now. I think it was the Ole Miss game where you saw where he started to make a little bit of traction with a lot of tempo, but for 3.5 quarters, it was just non-existent, it seemed like, as far as this offense. And then yesterday, in that awful showing that they had, there's just no way. No else.
Walcott was the best offense they had yesterday. I mean, Walcott.
Yeah, he was.
Walcott had the interception set up. Well, him and Cam Little. Walcott set up the field goal and almost had a scoop and score, which was a good call. I had people griping about that. No, the receiver was in motion. I mean, was moving. That's a false start. That's a dead ball right there. That's no bad because they didn't get screwed on that call. There was nothing bad about that. It's bad luck that it happened, but there was not a bad call. That was a good call. I mean, he did not. You had John blew the play dead. I wish, not because of that, but just something I've always thought about. I wish they would give you the option of taking that or declining it, but they don't, and yesterday that was an example where it'd be nice if you had that option, but I mean you shouldn't have to rely on that to win a football game against a team that John's right. I mean, 3 points except for the defense. Well, like I said, Walcott set up the field goal with the interception. He had a scoop and score that didn't count, but the defense, they had one play where they let them. It was 3rd and long, Jason, down there in Mississippi State's in the field, and they let them get out of the hole. Okay, one play. Man, you're not perfect. You're going to give up a play like that on occasion. But other than that, the defense played pretty well, or played very well. And like I said, they had their problems the second half of the LSU game. And a lot of people's had problems against LSU's offense. They've also had problems, but the special teams had some problems against BYU. But other than that, those units have been good. The offense just hasn't given them a chance to win football games.
No, they haven't.
Kent State and Western Carolina were so bad that Arkansas could overcome Enos to win those games, not Barry Odom.
Yeah, and so one of the things, and I've had some people ask me this, why KJ has regressed so much. And there's a couple of factors that I've kind of been boisterous about, and I think that a lot of people are starting to see a little bit more of it, and they've kind of noticed it over the last few games. One, his eyes are set differently on the defense now. Before, he was having to look at defensive ends and finding out exactly what they were going to do, and then concentrating on the linebackers, on the Mike, Sam, or the Sam and the Will, or the nickel that comes over. Now he's having to look at the Mike linebacker and a safety, which completely disrupts everything he's done so far. And he's trying to figure out exactly what those safeties are doing. Before, he had to a little bit here and there, but for the most part, his eyes were more fixed on the line of scrimmage. So he made a quick decision on first or second read, or get the hell out of the pocket. Now it was first, second, third read, outlet, then figure out what the pocket's doing in front of him as he's trying to look at these reads. That's the reason why KJ has had such a hard time getting the ball out of his hands. I wrote my column yesterday that he was 7 of 9, I do believe, for 49 yards, a sack, and a fumble whenever he got the ball out of his hands in under 3.5 seconds. I was up there timing that thing. Anytime that he threw the ball, he got the ball out of his hands past that 3.5 seconds, it got so bad I stopped counting the stats, because it was just awful, because he was running for his life. He was having to move the pocket himself sometimes, where he was having to escape and move. And it just doesn't set up well for him the way that this offense was being ran, because it's not his game.
Yeah. No, I hope, Kenny's going to call plays the rest of the year. I hope they go back to the up tempo. And I hope next year Sam brings in somebody that doesn't do the pro style, that does the up tempo offense, fast pace. Kids like that. That's what they like to play. And I think this team's built for that better. It's just a bad hire. And I just didn't feel, there's been games where you say, man, he should fire him. But, you think, well, maybe they can survive the rest of the season and go from there. But once they made a big deal about coming home after four road games, come home and play in the SEC at home, and then they go out and don't score a touchdown against one of the worst defenses in the country.
Oh,
you couldn't give him another game after that. It was just no way. I would have lost respect for Sam had he done that. I talked to people and said, "Oh, you can't fix it in 4 games, so why bother?" Well, it's not so much fixing it. I'm not expecting them to go out and score 80 against Florida, Jason. I'm not talking about fixing it. I'm talking about giving fans and players a hope. So show them that you're taking, okay. If you go out here and you drink and drive and you hit somebody, you made a mistake. What do? Do you go get some more, go drink again, go hit somebody else, and then go drink and hit somebody else? You keep making mistakes. You made a mistake. Okay, you made the mistake hiring Enos. You made the mistake. But you fixed it. You corrected that part of it. It'll take a while to get everything fixed after the season and get an offensive coordinator in here, but I hope Sam does his homework. I think really he relied too much on that 2015 season with Dan. We talked about this, but he had BA. He had that experienced offensive line. A lot of those guys are in the NFL or played there. He had Hunter Henry and Jeremy Sprinkle, 2 NFL tight ends. You had Keon Hatcher, Drew Morgan, and others at receiver. I don't remember all of them. He had Alex Collins at running back. You had a lot of talent on that team, and still, Jason, you still went down and played and scored 10 points. I believe it was against Toledo, or 12, whatever it was that year. Even with all that talent, you couldn't beat Toledo and Little Rock. So I think Sam relied too much on that season, though. and didn't do his homework with the next 2 years of Dan and this stuff. I think I think he put too much on that one season, and but hey, no sense beating a dead horse. He corrected it. Now we'll see where they go, but I think it gives people hope anyway to know that somebody else Kenny's going to call plays. I don't know who will coach the quarterbacks. That maybe the guy that was here, Kayla, seems like he's left. I guess I remember. I guess he left. One thing they could do is they've got the wide receiver guy that came. Derek Keefe that came over from Alabama, and wide receiver coach. He's an offensive analyst. Offensive analyst here with Arkansas, and he could quality control. I'm sorry, quality control.
Yeah,
offense, but he's got wide receiver coaching experience. So does Davion Warren, who played here. You've got those guys could coach wide receivers, and Kenny could actually coach quarterbacks if he needed to. So I think the biggest thing is you got rid of the bad apple in the group, and Sam's made a lot of good hires. It's just too bad that one hire just jumps out and just kind of it's like you've got 10 apples and one's really bad in the group and it spreads to the others of the rotten on it spread. It's kind of like that. I mean, you got he's made some good hires. He just made one really, really bad one. I'm not saying all of his hires have been good ones, but he's made some good hires along the way. And but he made a really bad one with Dan, and I said that when he hired him. I doubt I said it publicly, but I told a lot of people I was friends with that I think he'll. I just think too bad that one hire kind of defines Sam right now. People are mad at Sam, and I get it, but just remember this. Like I said, there's three aspects of football. Defense and special teams have been good. And they picked up the number one kicker in the nation, 2025, yesterday.
Yesterday was announced,
And the last thing I expected after that game was to get a commitment from anyone, and they got one. And number one player in the country at his position. Fountain's done a good job there. But anyway, Jason, we'll see how this all works out. But man, when you score 3 points against one of the worst defenses in the country, it can't get much worse.
I know that there's been some folks also in the chat that have been noticing, and they've also put on here, that KJ stinks. He's missing throws. When you miss those throws, like he missed yesterday in the end zone, for instance, when he's having to one, run for his life, two, trying to do something he is not comfortable doing, and three, trying to still operate at a high level, you're going to get these types of results just based on the sole fact that he's not in his comfort zone. And not only that, he's being asked to do some things that he probably doesn't even want to do
with
the offense is being ran.
It's mental with KJ, Jason. It's mental. That's why he's missing throws. No, he doesn't stink. He's missing throws because it's in his head. You get a kicker that misses one or two and it gets in his head. You get a baseball player is struggling at the plate, a good hitter, but he struggles a few games. It gets mental with him. The mental aspect of sports and life is big, and it's mental with KJ right now. It's why he's making some of the throws he's made, why he's missing some. He had Ty Washington, I believe it was Ty, for a touchdown yesterday.
Wide open.
Too low when they kicked the field goal. I believe that was Ty, but whoever. But but it's mental with KJ. He doesn't stink. He came into the season. He's been the MVP of the Outback Bowl, been the MVP of the Liberty Bowl. He came into the season with a chance to break nearly every passing record at Arkansas. I mean, KJ doesn't stink. It's mental with him right now, and I don't know how it's going to play out with him the rest of the season. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know this was a good step in the right direction, getting rid of Enos, no matter how this works out.
You have to give somebody else a chance. I know that they're
three points against Mississippi State. It can't get much worse.
Your backup quarterback's also your most popular player on the team because you haven't watched him play. And Jacoby Criswell, I'd like to see what he can do at some point, but not this season. And the reason why I say not this season, unless there is some garbage time where he can get some play here, is because at this point you don't have a lot of options other than playing KJ as much as you can, because he's giving you the best chance to win at this point. And I want to put this on here too really quick. By the way, this is my cousin. Wide receivers are struggling to get separation as well, and one of the reasons why is because of the scheme itself. And like we were talking about just a little bit ago, these guys cannot get separation if KJ can't get the ball out and get the spacing correct.
Yeah, I mean, one thing too is, when you're doing that short passing game, perfect player for that is Isaiah Satana.
Yeah,
I mean, that guy's small, shifty, quick, fast, super quick, athletic. And that's what you want. Like that catch against Alabama, that's what you want in those short passes. You don't want Broden at 6'7". He's not shifty. You want him downfield to win a jump ball against defensive back 30 yards downfield.
Well, and yesterday too, I would notice that whenever Broden got the ball, he got it on a swing pass and was trying to make some room on the side there on the left, on the home side. I'm thinking, why is this guy trying to get loose at the line of scrimmage? This guy should be 20 yards down the field with jump balls, or getting a little bit of separation where he gives him those longer arms a chance to get balls where KJ can throw to the back shoulder, for instance.
It was like Enos was scared to throw it down the field or something. He was.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it drove me crazy watching those short passes. I mean, it just – I don't know how anybody can judge anything on that offense the way he called plays. It was awful, terrible, completely bad.
And the fact that – and also not only was the play calling and the schematics of the plays that he was putting in, that he was calling in too, were awful. It was the way that he was utilizing the personnel that he had. Why the hell was Dominic Johnson out there on the last series?
Running the ball. And Sam's in there for his blocking.
I know.
But why is – if he's – I've given up on the A.J. Green bandwagon. I have asked – since he made that 55-yard run for a touchdown against BYU, I bet you he hasn't had 15 carries since that time. I don't know why. I don't know why. And don't give me that pass blocking, inadequate pass blocking. So is Dominion. The only one that can pass block is Dominic, and Rocket didn't pass block well. I get the pass blocking aspects of Dominic, but when it's 2nd and 7 or whatever it was, why are you handing the ball to him late in the game? He got 1 yard. I mean, Dominic, I don't know. I mean, that whole deal that was so typical of that whole offense. So, I mean, that play right there that you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know. Sam, I didn't like Sam's answer. Sam's got to be smarter than that. The answer he gave to the field goal. The field goal.
God, I wanted to crawl under a table when I heard that.
Yeah, when he said he didn't know what he wanted to do. Man, you don't. I talked to Lanny. Lanny called me yesterday after the game, and we were talking, and I read that quote to him. And I said, man, because I know, they're friends. And I mean, you talk to Sam can't make a statement like that. Man, that is just dumb to say. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't know, and I mean, it's like, God, Sam.
If he would have came out and said, it was something that the coaching staff missed, or that was something that the coaching staff needs to go back and look at, something like that you've heard Nick Saban say before, of instead of, hey, I'm sorry, I messed it. I messed up. I understand Sam's trying to show accountability to not the press, but the fans and the university and the players for that matter. He's trying to say, hey, this is me being accountable for what I missed. But there's a certain way of being able to go about that and saying, hey, this is something that our staff needs to look at going forward. It was something that we need to game plan a little better. Whenever that you say something like that, it almost gives you more of a stay of execution than going out and saying it was something I just didn't know what I wanted to do, or I didn't know what I was doing.
You don't know on that. You need to call timeout and think it over, because I thought you should have taken the point, tried to get the points there. And if Cam missed the field goal, he missed it. But man, he's been
there was no wind.
You know, I mean, that gets you within 7-6. And then that last drive, all you need is a field goal. You know, you don't have to get a touchdown, Jason. I mean, you know, it gets you within 1 point. And even a safety would have, you know, done it. It's just, I don't know. I mean, like I said now, I mean, when I say all this stuff about, Sam's not without fault. I'm not saying that. I'm just, he's not without fault in all of it. And he's the one that hired Enos. But I'm just saying that it's easy to say you don't trust him with any hires and stuff. Well, but remember, he's the one that hired everybody else too, like Travis Williams and Morgan Turner and, you know, Kenny Guyton, Jimmy Smith. You know, I mean, he's the one that hired these guys, Marcus Woodson. So I mean, let's be fair about it. Deke Adams, be fair about it. He's made some good hires. It's just that one really stands out, man. You know?
And that's the problem too, is like you said, the one stands out because the one that's standing out is covering up a defense that has been performing at the top of the SEC this season. And not only that, it's probably the best defense that this Razorback squad has had probably the last 20 years, going back to Keith Burns, and that Code Red defense.
Yeah, I'm reading here about the recruiting's not the problem, people. I mean, they've got recruits. I mean, like I said, they're not getting blown out because of lack of talent. They're losing because of some decision. But the offense just gave them no chance to win. You had to see that. If you didn't see that yesterday, I don't know what to tell you, because I mean the offense that gave them absolutely no chance in that game yesterday. Zero chance they gave them, and you know, and you just can't. You just can't do that. I mean, it was total. That was the absolute. I agree with Mike Irwin. That was the absolute worst game I've ever seen called in my life, and I've seen some bad ones. I saw Joe Craddock here for with Morris for 2 years. I saw him. I've seen bad games called, but I'm gonna tell you that one yesterday was the worst I've ever seen. Houston had some strange calls on occasion. Danny Ford, you know, Danny didn't call him, but his offense coordinator. But you know, even Bobby at times, you know, Bobby was great, but everybody has strange calls from time to time. You know, Bryles was the king of that. He'd call a good game, but then he'd have about 4 or 5 left to scratch in your head. Then what was that? You know, and Bryles was the king of that. But I don't know, man. This actually has to give you hope going forward. And, you know, all this will become more clear tomorrow when Sam talks to the media at noon. Everything will become more clear on, you know, everything. And we'll see how it works out. It can't be any worse than 3 points against Mississippi State, people. It can't.
If you're not able to watch the press conference, everybody, tomorrow, we will have that on Hogville directly after. We'll have it on the YouTube channel directly after the press conference is over with. Otis, let's take a quick break for just a second, and then we'll talk a little bit about recruiting guys that were on the Hill yesterday, guys that might be coming here in the next. Some guys that Arkansas still has their eye on, that if you got anybody in mind that you wanted to talk about also, and we'll be back in just a second. All right.
Tired of serving up the same old tasteless victuals to your family? Step up your grill game with new seasonings from Cloy's Southern Eats. Based off famous Southern recipes, our seasonings will add what's been missing to your family's feast. Add it to steak, chicken, shrimp, you name it. Serving up these fixings is going to make you the hero at home. So head on over to CloysSouthernEats.com and order yours today. Come get you some.
All right, everybody, welcome back. All right, so we went through the whole Dan Enos has been fired. We dissected it and analyzed it, killed it, put it in a bag, and buried it. So one thing I do want to mention before we get into the recruiting, I did see where Kevin McPherson had put out a tweet earlier and said, and I don't want to misquote this. Give me just 2 seconds. Let me pull that up here. Oh, should have had this up. Essentially said that, yesterday Arkansas didn't score any touchdowns, and in the SEC, touchdowns just mean more. I thought that was a pretty funny tweet. I thought, you know what, that's pretty spot on. So, real quick, so Otis, let's talk about recruiting. Who did Arkansas have in the house yesterday?
You had Braylon Russell, Grayson Wilson. You had, guys like that. I had a story Friday evening about those after I got out of the 50th trip to the doctor. Grayson Wilson, Braylon Russell, Kobe Branham. You had some kids from Mississippi, a couple of kids from Alabama. You just what you want to do now, you got the bye week. They'll be out on the road recruiting. The main thing is now, Jason, is try to keep what you've got committed. You've got 19 commitments for 2024. You've got 5 for 2025 and 2 for 2026. So you want to try to keep your 26 commitments you've got going forward, and then add to them, especially to 25 and 26. But even the 24 class, there's still a couple of 3 spots they'd like to fill there. I asked Sam the other day, he wants another linebacker. Always take an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I think, and then after that, you will start matching portal for portal. One kid leaves, you bring in one from the portal to replace him.
Yep.
So Sam said he'd like to have about 19 or 20 kids. I believe 18 to 20. He's got 19 commitments. I think he said he'd like to have about 20 high school kids and then match portal for portal on the remainder of the 24 class I'm talking about. And I think that's, and that's why I said he's pretty much there if he can just hold what he's got. I think LSU's trying to get a couple of kids. Arkansas's got committed. I'm not going to call names right now, but they're trying to get a couple of kids. Everybody's vultures. I mean, it's not any different. Arkansas do the same thing. I mean, they're circling and they smell blood and they're going after the Arkansas commitments. But this is where you hope, particularly on the in-state kids, that they stay strong, and people ask me, are they all going to decommit? Look, it doesn't work that way, people. All the kids don't decommit. Where are they going? I mean, they're going to go somewhere where they never lose. I mean, Auburn's not exactly tearing it up this year. I mean, it doesn't work that way. They're not going to lose all their commitments, but they could lose some, and you don't really want to do that. But it's
well, and here's another thing too, and you've also touched on this before, that if you're not producing on the field and you're not producing on the recruiting trail, Sam's not going to keep you around for long.
Right.
And one of the things that I'm curious to see over the next 24 to 48 hours, how many kids were committed to playing for Dan Enos? How many kids are actually committed to playing for the staff that's currently there versus him? Because if you don't see any change or any wavering from any of these players, that tells me also that Dan didn't really have any in the back pocket that he was going to be bringing in. And that is extremely important, not only to getting this thing turned around next year, but also for this current staff.
Yeah, I do know Keen Archer liked Enos. I do know that. Is that a deal where he wouldn't come to Arkansas because they fired Enos? No, it's not that degree, but he did like Enos. I think Grayson Wilson liked him. But there again, I don't think Grayson Wilson, well, I know he didn't make his decision based on Dan Enos being here. Dan Enos offered him, but he took it. But I think that the biggest thing is just let this thing play out with the coaches and see how recruiting goes. But you want to try to keep your commitments that you've got. And even if you only add 1 or 2 more from the high school ranks, you're okay there. Then you start matching it portal for portal. So, if you have 15 kids leave, you bring in 15. And the key with the portal, man, is bring in better players than left. And that's the key. Yep. You want to bring in better players than you lost. I mean, that's the game, man. It's the game you play. Musselman and Van Horn and Pittman and all of them softball have done that. They've tried to bring in better players than hit the portal and the other sports. But I'm just, got a little help more obviously on softball. I know they got a big commitment this week.
They did, yep.
I was talking to Dudley, and I know they got like the number 5 player in the country or stuff. But anyway, biggest thing with the portal, I think Sam's done a good job with the portal. He's and I think they've done a good job with the portal. I don't think recruiting is the issue with this team. I just think bogged the offense down to the degree that it just killed them, man. It really do. And I don't think that I'm not saying Arkansas's got talent to go out here and line up and just beat everybody, but hey, they lined up and played LSU, Alabama, A&M
on the road.
Ole Miss, they played them pretty darn well. So I mean,
yeah,
it's not like I haven't seen a game where like used to where you go out there and it's 50-0 at halftime and you can just know they're getting just killed because of the lack of talent. I haven't seen that this year. I know some people keep talking about recruiting, but and it's easy to point to recruiting when they're losing, but there's a lot of factors go into that, and I think there's a lot more involved with this than just recruiting. I mean, recruiting. I think that's down on the list of issues, way down on the list. I don't think that's one of the main reasons they're losing. I really don't.
I want to talk. Look,
I thought it too. I'd say so, but I just don't think that's the big issue. I'm not saying they can't upgrade their talent. Of course they could, but I don't think that's why they're losing these games. I put more on the offense than anything else.
And the offense is kind of mirroring what the defense was the last couple of years, where you had some guys out there and they're not doing as well as you thought they probably would. They keep bringing guys in. Who's to say over this off season, they go out and they turn the offense around like they did the defense this year? You've seen it with Colorado. You've seen it with other places too. And there is some optimism where you can go into the portal and through recruiting. Yeah. You got Luke Hayes has us coming back next year, and the tight ends are going to be deep. KJ still has an extra year, depending on how everything goes with Coach Guyton and moving forward with the OC. But I'm saying that there is a possibility that Arkansas can turn this offense around, just like the defense, in the same house.
Yeah, I think Ty Washington showed enough that maybe he can get some action with Luke at tight end, when they used to. I think Ty's shown enough this year that I still think Marquise Gomes can play. They're not giving him a chance for whatever reason, but when he has got a chance, he had that 30-yard catch against Alabama, I believe it was.
Yeah, it's Alabama.
So, I like this team. I like the players there at that tight end position, but we'll see how it plays out. But again, guys, I just don't think. I think people talking about recruiting. It's just, I just don't think that's the way I don't think that's the main issue. Right? I don't think it's even close to the main issue with this team. Sam is a good recruiter. People believe it or not. I mean, that's fine, but Sam is very good recruiter. I mean, Tay Lockett and people like that, Barry McWhorter are coming because of Sam Pittman. So those are big time players. He's a good coach. He's a good person and good recruiter. I mean, kids trust him.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's able to do. Wrapping up the rest of this recruiting process through the end of the season. Otis, when is the early signing period? Is it the 1st of December?
It's like the 3rd Wednesday in December or something like that. I haven't looked up the date. It's let me get my calendar out here.
It's usually right after the state
it's like I think it's at the 20th through the 22nd, I believe, is when the signing day is, the early signing period. I believe it's December 20th through the 22nd. And most kids in that period sign the first day, be December 20th. I think that's when most people signs that first day. So but I believe that's the right date. It's right there. And then, of course, the first Wednesday in February is always the date for the second signing period. Always the first Wednesday in February.
Yep. That's what I'm also going to be looking forward to seeing. Are there going to be any recruits that Dan Enos may have had in his pocket? I don't think that there are going to be too many that are going to fall off. And I think that going forward, you're going to see some progress also on the recruiting trail because now, listen, Kenny Guyton and going into that offensive coordinator role might attract some more eyes that you didn't necessarily have before because we have to see exactly what's going to happen. We have to see kind of what he's going to do. We're going to find out tomorrow. There's still a lot of questions out there that I think that we're going to be answered over the next 48 hours because quite frankly, they got 2 weeks to figure out exactly a game plan for Florida going on the road. And this really was the best time for this bye week to happen.
Yeah, it's a good time for it to happen. We'll see how it plays out. But they needed the week off, get some bodies healed up. They did a good job. They didn't play some people against Alabama and had them available yesterday. It gave them a chance on some guys, but we'll see. Bye week always comes at a good time. You know, I mean, you always welcome that, especially after 8 games.
So what I guess the question that I'd have for Sam if I was able to go to the press conference tomorrow is if the bye week was behind BYU and then we see how everything is unfolded after that, does Sam still pull the trigger or does Sam ride out the whole scenario with Dan Enos through the end of the season?
What now?
If, say, for instance, the bye week was not this coming week, and the bye week happened to fall after BYU, for instance. Does Sam pull the trigger on Dan Enos, or does he ride with Dan Enos for the rest of the season?
If the bye week it came after BYU,
yes.
No, I don't think he'd have fired him then. I mean, the offense was showing enough then that I don't think he would have fired him. But I don't think that would have been the case at all. No, I don't think so. Not after BYU. That yesterday was a disaster. 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, they lost to BYU, but they had 31 points too. So, no, you don't fire him then. But 31, 3 points against Mississippi State is terrible.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I wonder about is that if they still have the showing and we play, Razorbacks play Florida next week, does he still pull the trigger on Dan Enos going into Florida week, or does he just ride this thing out to the end of the season?
Yeah,
that's one of the big questions that I had, and I think that's why it was the perfect time for this bye week to be positioned here, so that way, if something like that needed to happen, and I know it's just more or less how everything lined up schedule wise, and it wasn't something that was planned; it just kind of happened.
Yeah, you had to make the decision today or tomorrow. I mean, you had to do that. And if you kept him for the Florida game, then he was there for the rest of the season. So you had to make that decision today or tomorrow. Sam probably made it last night after the game. I mean, I don't know how he could have kept him, and he didn't. So good for him.
Yep, definitely. Well, Otis, I'm going to get you out of here and heal up, my man. Okay.
Okay.
And we'll see you guys later next Saturday. That's a to be determined. We'll see how everything goes for next Sunday. I think we'll still do a show, but I'm not sure yet. But Otis, you and I will talk. And
we can
also,
do a show. That's fine.
Okay. All right. We'll be back next Sunday at 3:00. And then also make sure to tune in at 4:30 for the Razorback Diamond Report with Dudley Dawson. He's got a lot of good tidbits and facts to bring on with women's basketball, softball, and baseball too. So for Otis, myself, Jason, y'all take care and thank you.
Thanks, guy.